Fish.
Here.
Councilmember Mann.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist.
Here.
Mayor Yu.
I'm here.
I'd like to excuse Councilmember Chavez for cause.
Second.
Always moved and seconded. Any objections? Hearing none. Councilmember Chavez excused. Next, we have the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. So before we start, let me introduce Father Nick Assi from St. Luke's Catholic Church located 5605 Clovelly. Father Assi was ordained as a priest in 1972. And he's been at St. Luke's since April 1st, 2015 as the associate pastor. St. Luke's Catholic Church does not share campus, and with other churches, they offer their services in English only at this time. They have a big upcoming event, which is a Link Bingo, every Tuesday evening. It will host a Halloween party and trunk or treat, not trick or treat.
Right.
Halloween party and trunk or treat on October 22nd, Saturday, after the 5:30 Mass, which approximately starts at 6:30. So before we stand, and I would like to introduce our next group, Troop 161. The Scouts representing the colors are Zachary Chang, Nathaniel Loera, Christian Loera, and Duncan Vergara and Neil Chang. Troop 161 will be visiting and participating in the Rocktober Fest in Lucerne Valley. They'll be building model rockets and launching the rockets in Lucerne Valley during their rocket camp out between October 7th and 9th. So please rise, and Father will lead us with the invocation.
I apologize for Father Mark because he has other commitments. So he asked me to cover for him. So I have the pleasure and the honor to do the
You're
prayer.
welcome.
I would like to mention that I was ordained in Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I came to this country in 1998. And I came from Manhattan Beach to Temple City. And people ask me, where is Temple City? Some people thought it was near San Bernardino, others in Florida. So then, Temple City
It's
is
the
here.
greatest city in San Gabriel Valley. SoCal.
But,
Thank you.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, I think it was Teddy Roosevelt who wrote these words. Leadership requires two virtues that seem very simple until they become very inconvenient: honesty and courage. Honesty and courage. All of you must have earned the right to be here today by winning the trust of the people of Temple City. But along with that honor comes a duty of honesty, integrity, and public service. So let's settle our hearts for just a moment in prayer. Lord our God, thanksgiving for you and one another fills our hearts as we rejoice in you and in one another. We who live, work, play, and worship in the midst of this community, join together as one people in your love. We seek to have one purpose: the building of your kingdom and your people by serving you and one another. Surround our elected officials with your providential care so that they will not falter in their leadership of your people. guide their thoughts to works of great goodness in creating a community established in goodness and service. Watch over and guide the citizens of Temple City. Give them confidence in one another and in their leadership, and help us to work towards a greater unity among us. Lord, may your guiding spirit help us to strengthen the bonds of peace and love among all the citizens and congregates of Temple City as we build up each family in our spiritual care. We are truly grateful for the many blessings we have already received as we place before you the needs of each of us gathered here this evening in your name. With grateful hearts, we say amen.
Amen.
That's,
Thank you, Father.
may God bless you.
Thank you, Father.
Okay. Have it.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, front and center. Color guard, forward march. Halt. Color guard, please post the colors. All those in uniform, please salute. All those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Color guard, reform. Color guard, retreat. Halt. Color guard dismissed. Audience, you may be seated.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much from 161, and thank you, Father C, for the invocation. Next item is ceremonial matters. We have a presentation, but before we start, I also want to acknowledge with among us is our Assistant Fire Chief from our LA Fire Department, Chief Thies. So I want at this time we have Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District coming here, and I want to welcome Mr. Charles Trevino. He's the director of the Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District. He's going to make the introduction.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Yu, Mayor Pro Tem
Good evening.
Sternquist, honorable council members. Thank you for inviting us here tonight to celebrate Temple City's new sustainable landscape demonstration garden located here at Temple City Hall, Temple City City Hall. The project serves as an example of water-wise gardening that the entire community can take advantage of. It's an example of what can be done to conserve water. I also want to be very sure that we thank you, the city, for partnering with Ecotech and with Upper District, our service consultant Ecotech, who designed and constructed the beautiful garden. And really, they do an amazing job. They do an amazing job, and we're very happy to partner with them. Right now, today, we have Malcolm from Ecotech who has joined this evening to explain more about the project, but also to show the time-lapse video, which I think will show how the project came from beginning to end. So I'll introduce Malcolm.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Not Malcolm in the middle, but just Malcolm.
Those are my favorite shows.
Yep. Good evening.
Hi,
Welcome.
good evening. So during the course of this project, we went ahead and did a small time-lapse video of the construction. This was a sample of a turf removal project where we first go in and remove the turf. We do drip irrigation for sustainability and to maximize the water usage on the site. And we choose plants that are more adaptive to the environment that we live in, that can deal with drought stress and the heat that we get in Southern California. So, and these are some of the before pictures we've had when we first got started on the project here. And the beginning stages of this project first goes with the removal process. So we remove the turf, we do a lot of fine grading. Again, we do rototilling to help alleviate compaction on the soil, especially in the Parkway area that gets a lot of traffic during the summertime events here. You know, for us, safety is a big thing. So as you guys might have seen during that time, we made sure to have cones and caution tape out there, as we want to make sure we don't leave any trip hazards for any staff walking by or people of the city and community. So overall, the project for us took 5 days to complete down here. That's once the construction got started. Before we began, we did do an herbicide application, help kill the turf and minimize the weed grow back. As you can see, an important part of the work is doing the plant placement here. So going off a design, laying everything out. If you're ever doing this project like this at your home, that's a big important part of it, is to get everything out on the plan first. So that way you can make adjustments before it's too late in the process. So, you know, if you guys get a chance later today when you leave, this is out in front of the building right there on Las Tunas. You can kind of take it from the video to kind of the real life out there, how it came out. And you can see the drip being put in here to water all the new plant material. Again, there's no spray irrigation that's left, so any kind of wind drift or adjustments that get out of line over time don't affect the water consumption here and lead to increased waste. And right now, I can say I'm happy that the majority of all the plants have survived the summer here. We did the planting back in June, I think it was. So now at least, hopefully, we're going to start getting some of that cooler weather, and a lot of the plants will now start to go through their growing season through now and through the spring here to help fill in and thrive. I'm available right after this here if people have a couple of questions. If not, you can visit our website, ecotechservices.net. We'll be happy to answer calls about any kind of questions you guys have for anything, even if it's just for personal gardens for your own landscape. So thank you very much.
Well,
I really
thank you
appreciate
so
the
much.
opportunity.
It's beautiful.
I'd just like to thank Charles so much and the Upper District. You know, it's one of those things that we as council members sometimes, you know, want a partner, and I'm not shy about asking, and you were just so gracious and said, of course we can do something. And then we partnered with Miguel, and it just was such a lovely project. And I think Kathy Burrows, our Parks and Rec director, has nothing but good reviews for the company that did the installation. So I just want to personally thank you, Charles. I mean, this wouldn't have happened without you, and I know the council is very grateful.
I love working with the city of Temple City. Got a great, beautiful city, great council people, great residents, and love to bring more projects to Temple City. Would love to do that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Charles.
it.
Thank you.
And thanks, Mayor Pro Tem, for reaching out.
All I did was ask a question. Everybody else was supportive and
So, thanks so much. Right. Moving on to our next item is public comments. We have several speaker requests. First, I'd like to ask Mr. Jerry Jambasian to come up.
Good evening, Mayor and council members.
Good
Jerry Jambasian, 9136 Las Tunas Drive, Temple City. One of my favorite places to look at is Loma Avenue between Garibaldi and Hermosa. And I'm wondering, what is the protocol or what is the guidelines as to how many places somebody can dig up the street before it's beyond patching and it has to be all completely redone? Because it seems like there's dozens and dozens of holes now, and I'm wondering how it's ever going to look like it did before, because to be quite honest with you, no offense, Mr. Trevino, but a lot of times when the utilities plug up the holes, they don't do too good a job. So when you drive over it, you really feel it. So I'm wondering, are there any guidelines as to how much they can destroy the street before it's not repairable?
All right.
That's my question. Thank you.
Okay,
All
thank
right.
you.
This not being agendized, perhaps we can ask the city manager and the city engineer address that maybe in a future report.
Sure, but one thing, yeah, we can address that in a future report, and I
Yeah.
can report back that out in a future city manager's report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jambasian. Next, I'd like to call up our librarian, Ms. Jin Lee.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council member. My name is Jinny. I'm from Temple City Library. I'm here to talk about our upcoming library programs. And in the past, we received many inquiries regarding when Temple City Library can have a painting night for adults, since it's very popular. So to meet the community needs, our first adults painting night will be held on October 5th. It's a Wednesday from 6 to 7:30. All material will be provided. There will be light refreshment as well. And also in October, the library is packed with programs. You can see from our calendar, every single Saturday we have programs. So Saturday, October 8th from 2 to 3, in honor of the Hispanic Heritage Month, we're going to have a special presentation for the ballet folkloric dance that will showcase traditional dance from Mexico. And another program I want to highlight is October 15, also a Saturday, we're going to have a Star Wars Reads Day. So there are going to be awesome Star Wars related for checkout, books for checkout, and art activities, refreshment, party games. And last but least, I want to invite all the community come to join us for an open discussion with our county library director, Sky Patrick. Just be aware, and she won't be here. It's a live stream, but you were able to ask a question to share your thoughts on the future direction for your library. So there will be refreshment and also door prize, goodie bags. I hope I can see also, our community member, as many as we can, to be here. I heard our county CEO, Sashi, will be here, so
Oh, really?
at least she planned. So I hope to see you all there.
By video conferencing, or she'll be here?
No, she should be here.
Oh,
She said
okay.
she will be at our side.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one more speaker request. This Neighbor Watch, Ms. Lucy Liu.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members, City. Lucy Liu. I live in 6000 block of Cloverleaf Avenue. Yes, I'm representing the Temple City Neighborhood Watch area leaders tonight. We just had our monthly meeting next door. I wanted to bring a few points that we discussed that we would like to bring to your attention. First item up is a lot of the area leaders from various areas throughout the city. We have 10. have expressed a concern and would like to see more code enforcement officers. They're seeing a lot of parking violations. They're seeing a lot of, I don't know if transients belong to the city code enforcement, but they're seeing a lot more transients. And that's the other issue that we discussed at length tonight, is how we can eradicate or maybe help move these people onward to other areas out of our city. It seems like there are a lot more recently. These are the two items that we are very focused on, hoping for more code enforcement and also something about the transients that could be done where we don't violate their rights, but then we can keep our city clean and free of them. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
Lucy.
Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Next item is item 7, consent calendar. All items may be approved in a single motion unless removed for discussion. I think you have an
Thank-
announcement, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On item E, there's was one part of the recommendation that was posted on the agenda that is incorrect. Recommendation number 3, authorizing the city manager to approve work items on the audited bid schedule. That has been stricken, and that was stricken from, that was not part of the agenda item. The agenda item will just be recommendations 1, awarding the contract to pavement coatings company, the lowest responsible bidder, and then authorizing the city manager to execute the contract in the amount of $661,850. And those are the 2 recommendations. So if the council can accept that.
Okay. With
As
that
amended.
revision, any other items need to be removed? If not, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the items on the consent calendar with the revisions as noted by Mr. City Manager Brian Cook.
I'll second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Fish,
Yes.
Councilmember Mann,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist,
Yes.
Mayor Yu,
Yes. So the consent calendar has been approved. Next item is public hearing. There is none. Unfinished business, there is none. New business, there is none either. Communications, there is none. And any updates from Mr. Cook?
Very quickly, Mayor Yu, coming this Wednesday, September 28th, is Coffee with a Captain, with Captain Jacob at McDonald's on Las Tunas and Agnes. Be there. We'll be providing some coffee and pastries, and it's unstructured. Just come and meet some of our dedicated deputies. One of our reserves is working as Sergeant at Arms, so a very familiar face. And so many of our sheriff's personnel will be there and to talk to the community, just have an open dialogue. And we, as you know, we have a very progressive community watch program, area leaders, and really our approach to community policing. Or as Ms. Liu just came up to this evening and kind of addressed and had an open dialogue with us. We hear those things, listen to them, try to provide some resources where we can, and address the community needs. So that's this coming, not this Wednesday, the following Wednesday, September 28th, 9 a.m., McDonald's on Las Tunas.
I guess coffee's complimentary.
Coffee, the city will be providing coffee and pastries. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Youth Committee, since Councilmember Chavez is not here, Youth Committee meets this coming Monday. They'll be electing a chair, starting to set their agenda. They had a little retreat this last Saturday, just to get to know each other. We got another great group of young men and women throughout the community that did an outstanding job last year and will continue to do a good job in the community. We're tuning up for our normal active fall and winter schedule. Car show, fall festival, Veterans Day. As you can see out in the park right now, the
Very
Veterans
exciting.
Memorial is moving forward and a little bit ahead of schedule, but we won't get ahead of ourselves. Lights on Temple City, a lot of activity. Just to address one thing Ms. Liu brought up related to more code enforcement, the issues that were brought up are not necessarily code enforcement related. We have been short-staffed on some parking enforcement. We just hired a couple new parking enforcement officers who will be out. So we have heard some of those concerns and we'll be addressing those, and we'll be actively working on, and we actively work on with our dedicated team on many of the quality of life issues that hit our community as well. So, and that is sums up my update. Mayor, you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Any updates from Mr. City Attorney?
Mayor, just very quickly, I think you're all aware of Proposition 64 on the statewide ballot. That's the one to allow recreational cannabis or marijuana. I just wanted to let you know that, very briefly, that measure, if passed, still will allow the city to have a prohibition on medical marijuana dispensaries and cultivation facilities in town. Greg Murphy of my office is working with Director Forbes to make sure that if there are any small changes or adjustments that we need to make the ordinance, that we have those in place and ready to go before the measure takes effect. So we're working on that currently, but I don't think things are going to change much for us in Temple City. We'll be able to maintain our prohibitions and shut down businesses that operate illegally.
Can I ask? If the measure passes, it'll be legal under the provisions in California, but the feds will still have it, it's not going to be legal under them, or does anything change there?
Oh, well, good question. Right now, it is still a Schedule 1 narcotic, Schedule 1 narcotic being the most dangerous according to the Food and Drug Administration. I have heard but have not seen that it is due to be rescheduled and lowered. As far as I know, the federal government is not doing any active enforcement of dispensaries. 2 years ago, they were very active, working on going after the businesses, claiming that they weren't making profits and so forth. That all disappeared a couple years ago. So I don't know if we have a change of administration either way, whether that will change the Department of Justice or DEA or FBI or whoever else, the policy. That remains to be seen.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I want to thank Mr. City Attorney Eric Vale, and also our staff, the city manager and Director Forbes, for taking proactive action, before it start impacting us, and start looking at some of these bills that come, proposition bills that come across, and so we can take proactive action ahead of time. So, thank you for that. Next is council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Any reporting back? No? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is council items separate from the city manager's regular agenda. Councilmember Fish.
Okay. Wow, it's 8 o'clock. This
Yes,
is a
we're gonna
record.
have a fast one tonight.
It's a record. Just a couple of things. I believe it was a couple of weeks ago, Mayor Yu and Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist and I, we attended the California Contract Cities Association conference in Catalina. Hadn't been there in 30 years, and I have to say, it hasn't changed much. It is a beautiful place. I have this up here if anybody would like to look at it. It has a schedule of all of the sessions that we went to. With these, I wanted to say, with these conferences, probably one of the most important things is networking. We meet people from all over Southern California, and it's just a wonderful opportunity for us to meet other council members, other mayors, other city managers, law enforcement, and just kind of see what else is going on and what issues they're having. We actually had dinner with the council, the Catalina City Council, and it is really amazing. They have issues that are totally, completely, you would never think that they would be issues, because we're not surrounded by water. These issues are so important to them. And, they're talking to us and they're telling us, we have issues with water. They really have issues with water, okay? Because guess what? They have to bring in the water. We have issues with trash. They really have issues with trash. Where are they going to put their trash? I mean, they're just a tiny little island. Traffic. I mean, everything just seems to be so much more exaggerated. So it was very interesting for us to sit there and listen to these problems and these issues and these things that come up. And we were sitting there like, wow, I would never think that it's paradise. It really is paradise. I mean, it is beautiful. If you're going to go to conference, go there. I mean, I wish we could have spent more time on the actual beach instead of in a conference room, but still it was a wonderful place, and like I said, networking is always very important. I'll have this up there if anybody wants to see it. One of the sessions that I really, really appreciated was there was a session on all 17 propositions, and I actually have the little cheat sheet here. It was very nice for them to go through every proposition in detail and tell us what it involved. There's a few propositions that are very confusing, just for example, there's two propositions on the death penalty. People are going to get those confused because they're both the same subject matter. And there's actually several that are like that. So I invite you to look at this if you like. Also in our Connect magazine, right in the middle here, is another explanation of all of the propositions. Very informative. Again, they can be very confusing. And we even asked about the wording. The wording is very confusing. You can think you're voting for it when you're really voting against it. So we really clarified every little detail. It was very, very informative. So again, thank you, my colleagues. It was very nice to go. And then the last thing is, I would just like to say how excited I am about the Veterans Memorial. I just can't, it was just like one day, it was demolished in one day. How fast did that happen? It is wonderful. I'm so excited. I come here in the morning and exercise when no one's here, and I peek over the fence to see what they're doing, and it's just, I can't believe it's going to actually happen. I have to say I was a little worried about the timeline. When they tell you it's going to be finished a week before, you kind of go, really? But believe me, it's good. I think they're going to be finished ahead of time. It's wonderful. So thank you, Kathy. I appreciate your leadership. Very excited.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Min.
It's interesting you brought up the propositions because everyone keeps telling me that November, everyone's going to have proposition fatigue.
It is so
from all the things that are going to be on the ballot. So thank you for sharing your experiences at the conference. And also thank you to staff for putting that in Connect magazine. I thought that was a very nice addition because even though we do focus on a lot of our local issues in Connect, I think it's important to let our community know about the many propositions that can have a potentially big effect on our local affairs as well. So thank you for everyone who worked on the most current edition of Connect. One last thing I just want to report back on was the 90th anniversary open house for the Temple Station. It was a fantastic event, an amazing turnout. A lot of people were there. There was a line coming out of the Temple Station for the station tour. There were people who said, man, they wish that they could have this event on an annual basis. I actually told Captain Jacob that hopefully this is something we can do annually or even more frequently. And so, really what that event really reminded me of was the concept of community. We talked a lot about how we cherish so many of the things so many of the values and things that we sometimes take for granted here in Temple City, and Temple Station reminds me of that. We contract out and hire the LA County Sheriffs. We don't have our own PD technically, but having Temple Station here is like having our own PD, especially since I used to live a block away from them. I have an even greater appreciation for that. And also, thank you for Miss Liu for reporting back on Neighborhood Watch, because I think that's another example of how we're directly connected with them, and the whole idea of like community policing, like what Mr. City Manager Cook mentioned, is really important. One of my favorite facts from our Neighborhood Watch meetings that Deputy Rick Adams frequently brings up is that, if I remember correctly, he said that 4 out of every 5 arrests that they make here is a result of someone from the community actually calling the station and providing tips. So really that shows you how important it is for us to better understand our law enforcement and to really connect with them. And I thought that open house granted an excellent opportunity for that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sternquist.
Speaking of the sheriffs, it was interesting because I didn't think that Catalina would have sheriffs as their public safety, but
It's crazy.
yeah, their cars were very similar, and I'm thinking, but I'm like 2
But
hours away.
they were mostly on bikes.
They were on bikes, yes.
Of
But
course.
it was interesting to see. I think one of the things that I came away with from Catalina is that they are in a stage 3 crisis drought in Catalina. So water is only given if you ask for it. And if you do ask for it in a restaurant, the bottles are 50 cents for the water. So
I got charged a buck.
a buck? You got charged a buck. Oh, wow.
I got taken.
You went to a high-class restaurant, I think. But anyway, so you have to pay for the water. And I was thinking that last year, when we were doing the drought-tolerant garden, there was a lot of momentum with the community trying to save water, and we as a council, you know, were trying to win a contest, and I was taking showers in Arcadia at, you know, their fitness center.
At the gym.
At the gym.
Run up their water bill.
I mean, I was like, the water,
That is so crazy.
you know, it's just crazy about everybody saving water. I think my family had had enough, but I noticed that I think we get a little bit complacent because if we're not talking about it, people just tend to start using a lot of water. And I'm seeing that in my own neighborhood where sprinklers are going on for, gosh, who knows how long. Or I see people just watering the cement. So I think we just need to be cognizant that we have to continue to remind our residents and neighbors that we need to continue. This is a continual drought. It's not just going to disappear because we had those 5 days of a lot of rain. So I think every time you drive by the drought-tolerant garden, kind of remind yourself that we are in a drought and continue to be so. Catalina is in the process of developing a desalination plant. I wish we would have been able to go and take a look. I think a couple of people who got there early were able to go out and see it. But you know, it's something. It's got to happen
It has to happen.
at
For
some
them, it
point,
does.
and it's terribly expensive. But we can't be without water. And I think one of the things that was a takeaway also is that water historically is very inexpensive. And water bills will continue to go up until the point where people are going to take notice and say, oh my gosh, look at my water bill. And that's going to be the shock about reminding you, the shock and awe about like you need to do something. So I think that was really pertinent to bring back to the city. And of course, I hadn't been to Catalina since I was, you know, probably 15 or 16. And what it did remind me on that boat ride over was just how beautiful and lucky we are in California to enjoy things like that. You know, just a 2-hour boat ride, and it's a different world. The water was so clear. I thought, I don't need to go scuba dive in Hawaii when it's beautiful here, and you could see the fish. It was just a really great place, like you said, Councilmember Fish, to enjoy the environment and appreciate how lucky we are in this state to have those things. And I think then just one other thing, Mayor Pro Tem asked me Mayor, you asked me if I would just mention that unfortunately we lost a short-time employee with our city who passed away suddenly. She was the assistant to the city manager and was the council's assistant, and I know the staff that had known her and had the opportunity to work with her for a short period of time really appreciated her energy, her team spirit, and that morning, the council members had, the morning she passed, the council members had received emails about our trip to Catalina. So it's very difficult for all of us. So Mayor Yu is generous to have us all sign a very nice letter and send it out to the family. But if any of you had the opportunity to meet her and stopped in City Hall, it is a great loss to our city. So we will keep her family in our prayers, and Mayor Yu, you'll close
Yeah,
the
we'll
meeting.
adjourn in Ms. Diane Bernardino's memory. Okay, thank you for those reporting back. I have one other, I concur with my fellow council members. I totally enjoy the California Contract City Association conference, even though it's a small conference this time, but it's really good. It's more intimate. We learned a lot. Among some of the things that was mentioned, we also had a discussion with our sheriff, Jim McDonald, and we were talking, he was reporting back on the liability trust fund. Some of you may know that we actually use the sheriff department as our police department. And so there, we set aside certain funding for certain unforeseen liability that might happen. It is jointly contributed by all the cities. It's under the control of a committee, I think at this point, that is a joint committee between the cities and the county. And on that note, we also have a tribute dinner that night to Supervisor Kanabe. I mentioned him in particular. He's leaving his office this December, even though we're not really in his district, but we have had some issues with the liability trust funds before with the county, and I have to say Supervisor Kanabe, even though we're not in his district, has been really a champion for us small cities. We appreciate his help. He probably would not hear what we said tonight, but that doesn't matter. He has been a champion of a small city. So it was we had a tribute dinner for him, and it'll be very nice to, and he was actually quite emotional to leave us. Yeah, so. And I want to end my report back on a bright note. It's been a long time in the coming. People have been asking about the Community Square or Piazza or whatever, Edwards Theater or whatever you call that project. It's finally opening. I think it's a sort of a semi-private. They didn't really publicize it, but October 3rd, Monday, October 3rd, 11 a.m. There will be a simple ribbon cutting ceremony, and the city council was invited, and so is the city manager and Director Forbes, and a number of the community leaders as well. So happy to report back. The project is finally done, official, and I'm sure you all seen some of the businesses slowly opening. So it's a good thing to report back.
I'd just like to share that the owner of Pokélicious
Yes.
has said that her business is thriving in the few months that she's been open, and she's happily awaiting the opening of the other restaurants, so there'll be even more foot traffic. But she says she's doing extremely well, and it's very, very popular.
Yeah. Oh, great. With that, we'll move on next item, which is additional public comments. Seeing none, I'll close that, and we will adjourn for the night. And again, want to remind everybody we're on the adjourn in the memory of our staff member, Diane Bernardino. So have a good evening.